All right, everybody, welcome back. Today, I have a very special guest today. I have Patrick Sullivan, aka That Investor, for you all, the king of DeSci. How you doing today, Patrick?
I'm doing good. The markets are green, so that means my mood can be good. I can be happy today. We're finally going back up, baby.
Yeah, ICP's green, the market's green, crypto green, stock market green. Everything's looking green. So today we're going to be having a conversation about covering DeSci, what's going on with it, why it's important. We're going to be talking about NOBLEBLOCKS and some other things too. So Patrick, to get things started, can you let the audience know who you are?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Patrick, aka That Investor, everywhere except for X because they suspended that account. It's This Investor on X. I make crypto content. I'm heavily niched down into decentralized science and all of the chains that are involved in decentralized science, which I know not a lot of people are talking about DeSci, but there are a lot of advancements coming out of that industry and coming out of that space. Kind of part of the reason why I'm so passionate about it is that I have a bachelor's in science, and then I worked as a shift lead leading a team of 15 to 20 genetic analysts out of Boston. So I see the use case, I see the problem areas in the world of science and research and healthcare, and I'm very excited to integrate blockchain into it in a meaningful way.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So for the audience who doesn't know what DeSci is, could you explain to them what it is?
Yeah. So there's a couple different avenues that I could go in explaining decentralized science and kind of the use case behind it. I think there's two key areas that are really going to hit home for most people watching. The first one I would say is that aside from the financial industry, the medical and biotech industry, you're talking companies like Pfizer and GSK and Moderna, all those giant biotech companies are extremely corrupt. And so adding a layer of transparency to that corruption when it comes to funding science and the financial aspects of everything, I think is a really good use case that should be implemented in order for, in my opinion, most of humanity to continue to thrive and not get bogged down with a lot of the nonsense that happens in the current healthcare system and everything. Because we know it's no different in any industry, but especially in biotech and in healthcare, we're basically just cash cows for the government and for big tech and for these large companies. And so adding in layers of decentralization and transparency, I think can help the entire industry flourish a lot more. The other side is just data sovereignty. Like when you go to your healthcare provider and you're getting pricked and prodded and all your measurements are being taken, all of that data just gets siloed off into these little data lakes and warehouses. And so adding in blockchain and the zero knowledge proof that is enabled by blockchain, we can actually utilize some of that data and you can actually own it and get paid for providing your healthcare data. So I'm very excited. There's hundreds of use cases, but those are probably the two that are easiest to digest.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things is how much money is actually in this space. I think it's 15% of the U.S.'s GDP, so something like $2 trillion, roughly somewhere around there, is spent on healthcare every single year. So when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to the actual sector of DeSci, it's pretty small right now, but the upside is massive because if we can just capture just a small chunk of that money, it means there's a potential for a lot of people to make a lot of money in this ecosystem. Can you talk about because you've been in DeSci for a very long time, can you just talk about how you've seen the sector in crypto emerge and where it's at now and where do you think it's going?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the entire market cap for decentralized science right now, according to CoinGecko, the whole thing is $500 million. Not just the biggest project, the entire thing. And so then you look at what you just said, where it's a multiple tens of trillions of dollars of total addressable market that are being disrupted. So even just capturing 1%, 10% is a massive upside from here. And they've been progressing dramatically, actually. I think just the other day, the very first L1 blockchain specific for healthcare and decentralized science was launched, and it was by Data Lake. And I'm sure we'll go into some of the coins that I'm paying attention to in DeSci in just a couple minutes. But they just launched their first L1. I know that VitaDAO has put out, I believe, 3 biotech startups. So 3 independent companies, which are owned essentially from the DAO itself, that is VitaDAO. And those companies have the potential to go on and IPO on the stock market. There's been many different DAOs, and I don't want to just continue to name drop a bunch of random names out here, but there's been a bunch of DAOs that have filed for patents in the space and actually got drugs approved for therapy uses and done clinical trials. And so literally over just the last 6 months, all of these things have started to flourish and go. And it's because there's so much money there that they have the resources to actually start doing all of these things. So it's not just a niche little scam thing that everyone's going to make money on and then ditch. There are real use cases coming out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. And when we talk about like big backers in the space, we recently saw CZ, or not recently, but like the last 6 months, he put out a tweet related to DeSci and everything, which definitely gave the sector a big boost. Can you like speak on some of the big leaders in the space and people who are backing it up and what type of, eyeballs could potentially, come on the sector?
Yeah, absolutely. So when CZ's out of jail, I'm sure his involvement will start back up again. We got, I don't know how many months are left, but then the CEO of Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, he's got his own project. Literally, he started his own DeSci coin and everything. And then we got Pfizer's putting money into it, Sanofi is putting money into it, and actually like partnering with different DAOs and everything. There's a company in Korea that has a massive amount of market share when it comes to rare diseases and pregnancies and such out there. And they just launched a blockchain as well. So they're going crazy with it. A lot of huge players with a lot of funding are starting to pay attention. I think even like, and this is a little bit out there, all right? So everyone watching, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I know RFK is a huge proponent for citizen science. Citizen science is just a synonym, whatever the fuck the word is, for DeSci. So he is someone that I think once he understands and hears of what's happening, because we already know he's huge in crypto, he's big on blockchain technology, and he wants to integrate it into the government. I think if he hears about it, he will be all for it. And I think I'm like 2 people removed from him. So I'm trying to chip away at that and get closer and closer so I can be the little voice in the back of his head being like, DeSci. But there's a lot of attention.
Yeah, and I think it's important we talk about this because I think the main concern and what people would say about DeSci is, yeah, it's a good idea and it works, but like, is the people who are lobbying the government going to try and squash it? So, you mentioned Pfizer is investing in some of these companies. You mentioned people like, CZ, Vitalik's also a fan of DeSci, and then Brian Armstrong as well. So can you talk, like, if someone, because I think that's like the main rebuttal towards DeSci. I don't think anyone's arguing that there isn't potentially a lot of money. I think the main argument is it's going to get squashed by the government or whatever. So what is your rebuttal to that?
My rebuttal, I think, is that right now, as I truly believe it should be this way, right now, the whole space is not 100% truly decentralized when it comes to DeSci. There are still, like, these DAOs still own like 50% of control over the voting rights and everything because they all just started. And when you're starting a company, you need to maintain some level of control. And then over time, as we saw in all of crypto, it slowly gets more and more decentralized. And so because right now there is a high level of centralization with control over a lot of these things, the biotech companies are willing to step in right now because they know that the people who are kind of running the show for the time being are intelligent and can actually have profit-driven or just goodwill-driven incentives. I think over time that'll change a little bit more, but at that point, like the companies like Pfizer, like Sanofi, like GSK will already be involved. And so like it's just got to evolve a little bit more. I think one of the main problem areas that I'm from talking with a lot of the founders is like the whole idea of tokenizing intellectual property. So the results from research that get funded is intellectual property, and then tokenizing that on the blockchain, I think is really hard for some of these big traditional players to like conceptualize and understand. But that's not something unique to DeSci. That's the whole space is having that difficulty.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to decentralization, it's a super like nuanced conversation. You see this with a lot of L1 blockchains when they first launched. Like ICP is right now like super centralized, but at the end of the day, it's going to continue to get more decentralized. And the reason why it's so centralized right now is because it's a new blockchain, and that's what that's how the process starts. It starts out super centralized, and it gets more decentralized over time. But I personally feel that there always needs to be low key some level of there needs to be some decentralization, but in my personal opinion, I think there should always be a level of kind of control, or else things can go south. Like in my personal opinion, I think the best businesses are run by a couple like key leaders who are able to make good decisions and do what's best for the company. So I don't even see it as that bad of that bad of a thing where it's, if there is a degree of centralization. Now, obviously, people could say, well, then it's not decentralized. But, you could say the same thing about Bitcoin or any of these other chains where it's like, decentralization is a very nuanced conversation. And there's it's kind of a spectrum as well, where it's like some things can be more decentralized than other things. But that's my personal take. Now let's talk about like some of the projects. I guess let's talk about NOBLEBLOCKS first. So me and Patrick are both advisors for NOBLEBLOCKS. Let's go. But Patrick, can you give us an update on the project?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we're inching very close to the launch of the actual updated platform, which has all of the different features, including like funding of science and job boards and being able to do the preprint and the peer review process. So we're getting very close to the bounties as well. The entire platform with all the suite of use cases for the Noble token and NOBLEBLOCKS itself for the scientists is right around the corner. From my understanding, they're doing a lot of testing right now just to make sure that it doesn't break when it's live and rather can break if it is going to break while they're doing the testing, right? Just like anyone who's doing software development, you understand you can't just launch a product you haven't back tested. So from my understanding, they're at that stage right now. And I'm very excited for the launch because, and I think today or tomorrow, I'll be going live with someone who can bring a lot of attention and a lot of real like PhD students and scientists and researchers onto the platform, and like in droves, in a very large amount. I gave you guys probably more information than I was supposed to give right there, but this partnership that could be orchestrated here soon is going to be massive for the adoption of NOBLEBLOCKS. So lining up perfectly with what looks like the market coming back, Bitcoin, and what looks like the launch of the finalized platform and the real use cases, I'm very excited for NOBLEBLOCKS' future. I know it's been rocky. I know it's been rough. But I've got diamond hands on this bitch.
Okay. Now I think we have to address the elephant in the room about NOBLEBLOCKS. Besides the fact that there's an awesome platform coming, the chart. So a lot of people, and it was like a big thing, so a lot of people knew about it, but there is I'm going to let you explain what happened with the NOBLEBLOCKS chart and the hack that happened on the third party, not NOBLEBLOCKS, but you can explain.
Right. Yeah, so NOBLEBLOCKS, they obviously, like almost every project in the space, did a token pre-sale where they were enabling just money to come in and tokens to go out to get the circulation going and get some distribution going with people for the actual token. Those tokens were vested, meaning they were locked up in a third-party contract. That contract was hacked. So it was great. It was terrible, but it was great because the platform itself didn't get hacked, and the contract that was created the tokens didn't get hacked. It was like you stored in the bank. The bank got robbed. It wasn't a problem with the actual system, but rather that contract. So unfortunately, the hacker immediately dumped all of them onto the market. And you can picture it like a mass dilution event, which is why you have to pay attention to the inflation rate of coins and everything. You got to pay attention to how coins are going to get onto the market. And NOBLEBLOCKS, unfortunately, is a prime example of that, because if you do that dilution too quickly, then the price gets impacted dramatically. So essentially, like the supply doubled in the span of like 2 hours, and that just tanked the price to so bad. It was so bad.
Yeah.
I still think we're above where it fell down to, but it's like, yeah, that hurt a lot of people's, their wallet, but their conviction.
Yeah, just a sentiment around it.
Yeah.
And by the way, guys, the third party that got hacked wasn't just like, oh, why did you guys choose them? Like they work with the Arbitrum Foundation, so they're not just some nobodies. It really just happened to be, it is what it is. Like it says in their bio that they're trusted by the Arbitrum Foundation. So these guys weren't just, they had not worked with anybody else. They were, a super, super reputable name in the space, and they just got hit. But
and it wasn't even Noble only.
Yeah.
There were, I think, like 5 or 6 projects that got impacted by it. So it was just like a shit show. But everyone in crypto is probably somewhat used to that.
Yeah, and you can see it on the chart, on the Noble chart too. You can see we had the launch, and then it kind of, the market found its price, and we were looking like we were about to pop. It was going like this, and then the hack happened and went like this. We bounced back up a little bit, and the market's been dead for a little while, so it kind of just trailed off. But now the market's moved. We're looking like the market is, going to have a full-on reversal. And I said this to my Telegram, and I think, it can be considered a hot take right now, guys. But if you look at the Noble chart, especially for you ICP guys, like you're not new to this. There could be a lot of upside to the chart, because once again, there's a lot of money that's going to be flowing into the space. The Noble team is, it's a very solid team. The devs are, pushing a really nice product soon. Patrick's obviously an advisor for them. I'm an advisor for them. We're doing a lot of work, so it could be potentially a good opportunity for you to get in. Of course, not financial advice, your own research, of course. But also, let's talk about. And by the way, for you guys who are from ICP or whatever, this NOBLEBLOCKS is built on ICP, by the way. So go support your local ICP project. Noble it's not Noble on ICP though, it's Noble on Ethereum. So yeah. But now let's talk about some of the other projects in the space. What are you liking?
Yeah, so I like a lot of projects. I did pull up 3, and I think I'm going to add in a 4th one that I think should be on people's watch list. That way they got a total of five DeSci projects. The first one I've already mentioned, it's Data Lake. Data Lake has, I think, in my opinion, 2 really good things going for it. I'll say 3, but it's like the 2 things that I focus on when I'm looking for an investment. And again, none of this is financial advice. It's my opinion, but Data Lake has a massive use case that is like tapping into the entire healthcare system overseas for now. It's not in the United States right now. It's in Poland, I believe, but they're tapping directly into that healthcare system, which I was talking about earlier, where researchers want to come and get as much data as they can, but they don't have the system or the infrastructure right now in the current model to allow those researchers just open access to the information. Data Lake is helping just orchestrate and facilitate that transfer of data while still maintaining your sovereignty as the provider of that data, while still maintaining giving you money, like allowing you to get paid for the data you're providing. They also just launched that L1 blockchain I was talking about earlier. So it's the first L1 dedicated to healthcare and decentralized science. And so they got the tech down. They have most of the partnerships down. They're already working with hospitals. And the third thing is they understand marketing. They understand marketing. Like, it's just, unfortunately or fortunately for us, it is quite that simple sometimes. If you understand marketing, you can get your project in front of more people. Those people can either just be speculators, or those people, and oftentimes what ends up happening is those people are actual users who just didn't know that the product existed. And so by spending money on marketing and actually understanding the importance of it, you can get a lot more activity on your chain. So I really like Data Lake for that. The other coin who also understands marketing is Axon. Anytime you talk about DeSci, I challenge anyone right now, go on X and type something about DeSci and use hashtag DeSci. I bet someone is going to tag Axon underneath it, or put the ticker Axon underneath it, AXGT, because they're pretty good at marketing. They just were on Mariana Falls Space. I think they went on twice, actually. So the team understands the importance of KOL marketing realistically. And they have some cool technology as well. Everyone can go do their research on it. We actually worked with Axon for a little bit there. It feels so long ago at this point, but we got some insider access to know the team at a higher level than most people. It was crazy.
Yeah, that was a crazy run. I think that was like the big moment for DeSci when Axon had that nice run while we were working with them. Did super, super well. And I personally believe that, when it comes to the market, I think DeSci is something that, as you mentioned, it only has a $500 million market cap, so there's a lot of upside. And when the market gets really hot, this is a sector that, potentially, and it probably will do, can give you, a lot of returns because it's super small. And when the market really pumps, my biggest top signal, not saying DeSci is the top signal, but it's really when every sector runs in crypto. So when you see gaming pump, when you see DeSci pump, when you see everything pumping, that's when I think the market's super hot. And when the market gets hot, I think DeSci is going to do super, super well. And these coins are very small. Like, once again, NOBLEBLOCKS, strong marketing behind it. There's a good product. the token's at a, in my opinion, a low valuation for what it should be because of some unfortunate events. And when you look at like, I think a good example, I don't want to compare NOBLEBLOCKS to Solana, but it's kind of a similar situation that when FTX got hacked and really crypto in general, you saw this mass cascade and everything. And I remember I bought a bunch of Solana at like $17 publicly and everything. But when you see these forced, liquidations that happen because of unexpected third-party events, that's when there's real opportunity. And I think the hack, kind of is a blessing in disguise if you're actually, if you're looking at it from, an opportunity standpoint. Of course, there's a lot of people who bought in who lost money, but if you're looking on the sideline looking for, to get a good return, there's a lot of potential there because, without the third-party hack, I mean, the price wouldn't be at this low, which means you're at a massive discount pretty much.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I've talked about it a lot, especially in my Discord. Like, it's really the market just disrespecting it because the whole market sentiment was down. And then the hack happened like right as market sentiment started going away. So it's just like one of those opportunities for people, if you do have conviction on it, to just get it at low key the pre-sale prices again. Another project, and this is Brian Armstrong's project, is ResearchCoin, RSC. So I don't think I really even need to say much more beyond that.
Yeah.
But Brian Armstrong's not going to let his company fail like that. It's going to like he's got an infinite amount of money. So ResearchCoin's a big one, and then there's a whole suite under BioXYZ, and I should have my BioXYZ shirt on right now. But those people, the people behind BioXYZ, I've worked very closely with. They're very competent, and they're the ones that are launching that whole suite of their tokens, are launching the patents, they're launching the actual drugs, they're launching the biotech companies. So it's a good area for people to spend some time digging into.
Yeah, RSC is definitely a good pick because Brian Armstrong basically has unlimited money, so he's gonna make it work pretty much, especially when the market gets hot. Like, he's probably gonna send it. I mean, I doubt, like, that's the thing, he's not gonna let his project fail. He's just not gonna let him. He has Coinbase behind him, he's BlackRock behind him. So yeah, but now let's talk a little bit about, I guess, your outlook for crypto in the coming months and the next coming months. Like, what do you think? Like, where do you think the market's heading, pretty much?
I think all that FUD that just happened with the big Germany selling Bitcoin and then Mt. Gox and everything, and like all that FUD that was created as Bitcoin was dipping like 25% from the all-time high. I think that's over. I think that the bounce and the strength of the bounce that we just had is very dramatic. I think the ETFs, both for Bitcoin and then the one coming for Ethereum, and then the talk about the Solana ETF, I think just opens the doors. Things take a little bit of time to develop. Obviously, I think we'll probably have in the very short term a little bit of a pullback as we just like retest the areas on the chart. But I think ultimately this is the beginning. Right now is probably the beginning of the next leg up. I think we'll probably go close to 100K, but not quite to 100K, just so that everyone can say, oh, we got rejected at 99K. We're not going to 100. Like, the market's over again and we can get a pullback again. I remain like unfathomably bullish for the next, like, I would say like 11, 12, 13 months. I think summer next year, I won't be as bullish, while everyone else in the market will probably be extraordinarily bullish because we're going to see the retail normies pump into crypto because they see it at 100K and everything. Yeah, I think we got like a year left of just the same shit that happens every 4 years. Like 1-2 more legs up.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's like everything's lining up to go super, super well. I think we definitely, hopefully we crack 100K this cycle. And I think, that's really, once we crack 100K, I think that's when we're going to see the real up only, where every sector starts pumping. Like you're going to see maybe even the metaverse make a comeback. Mana, Decentraland, and Sandbox, even though I hate that shit. I think it's garbage.
I said something the other day on X, actually, which I really resonated with, and you were talking about the NFT market. When the NFT market starts pumping, that's like the top. Yeah. And I was thinking, I was like, I got to take some profits and roll them into some NFTs for that final like pop at the very end.
Yeah, I think NFTs are going to make a comeback. People don't, it's like the same thing as kind of a shitcoin, it's just another version of a shitcoin pretty much. And when NFTs are running, that's when you should probably start selling. That's when there's really like, when people have enough money to just really spend money on these JPEGs and stuff. I'm not trying to discredit the NFT community and everything, but like, I think there's going to be some projects that do well, probably Milady, Pudgy Penguins, CryptoPunk. Bored Ape will probably even do decent just because it's just a name out there that has a lot of attention. But, those are kind of the real top signals. Once you see gaming and the metaverse and NFTs pumping, that's when you should probably start taking some profits. Not financial advice, of course, but yeah. Is there anything else? I feel like we hit most of the stuff. Is there anything else you want to mention?
Most of the key points I think we touched on aggressively. There's opportunity. I'm talking just as my name is That Investor. I'm talking from an investment standpoint. There's opportunity when you see development on a foundational level, yet price is going down or being disrespected, or you see people in the market saying it's a scam or it's not going to work. As long as you have that conviction to actually see the progress that's happening on the underlying level, I think that's where you find the most opportunity. It's worked for me over the last 7 or 8 years in my investment journey, and I can't imagine it not working moving forward. I don't know if you want to mention the fact that we'll be in Nashville for the Bitcoin conference coming up.
Yeah, for sure. So me and Patrick and a bunch of other people are going to be in Nashville for the Bitcoin conference. So if you're there, just you may see us there or whatever. You can come up and talk to us about our bags and everything. Yeah, but pull up. We're cool people. We are real people. We're not AI. So yeah. And I guess the last thing is like plug your socials pretty much.
Yeah. I'm very excited now because I'm about to crack 100K on TikTok. So that's like a huge milestone I've been trucking along for a while, but it's that_investor everywhere. So Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and then X is this_investor. As I said in the beginning, they banned my initial account when Elon bought the company. So fuck you, Elon. No, I'm just kidding. He's going to pump our bags, so I can't say that. Yeah, just if you're interested in decentralized science, go ahead and follow me on either YouTube or X. I feel like you'll probably get your most value for that. If you like conspiracy-related videos, go over to TikTok, because as long as TikTok will stop taking them down, you'll continue to see some more crypto content and conspiracies mixed in. So
yeah, and that's all I got for that's pretty much all I got. And if you made it this far, make sure you're subscribed, leave a like, leave a comment, go follow me on all my socials. It's all right there. And yeah, thank you for watching.